All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do part 7 using a while loop. We're going to continue talking about a while loop. We're going to go over it a little bit more detail. All right, I want you to kind of visualize what's happening in the code. By the way, this code is not perfect. This should be make white keys with loop and array, and this is fine, I++, or you can say I equals I plus 1, but it's a little bit different. So don't copy this code down. I'm just wanting to go over what the code is doing, and this is good enough. All right. So we have this thing, we made these arrays, private string white notes, private string white keys, right? And so what I want you to understand is when you visualize an array, it should be like a table, right? So, and it has an index. So these are white keys 0, white notes 0. These are parallel. A goes with 3C, S goes with 3D. So even though they're two separate arrays, they're parallel, they go together, okay? And so we have this thing, super 800, 341. So we starts off, we make our world that's 800, and then we say this should say make white keys with loop and array. But this is, like I said, this is good enough. So it runs this thing right at the get-go. Okay, so let's see what happens. So we have our local variable I, right? So int I equals 0. So we start off with our I equals 0. Is 0 less than white keys dot length? Well, let's go up and look. What's white keys dot length? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. Why does that say PA? That should, I think, I don't know why that says PA. Okay. Anyway, okay, so I is less than 12 for sure. So it's going to kick us into this loop. All right. So we're going to get rid, we're going to ignore, by the way, you should have your code looking like this. The key equals new key. So I want you to, if I do want you to change yours to look like that. Hit pause and do that real quick. But let's skip that for now. But so let's just jump to this. We're going to make a new key, white keys I. Well, I is equal to 0, so we're going to come up here and we're going to say white keys 0 is A and white notes 0 is 3C. So we're going to say, oh, our key is going to play when you press the A key, and it's going to be 3C plus. We're concatenating .wav, so it's smushing those two strings together. So now it's going to be 3C.wav, which is the name of our sound file. Okay, so that's great. And so then we're going to say I++. So now our 0 plus 1 is 1. So our index number is 1. And it's going to say, hey, let's make a new key, white keys 1. And so it's going to be an S, and it's going to be 3D, and we're going to concatenate plus .wave. So it's going to be 3C.wav, right? And so we're going to keep going through, and we're going to add them. The first one gets scoochied over 54 plus 0 times 63 is 0. The next one, that's 1, scoochies over 54 plus 1 times 63 is 63. The next timer it's going to be 2 times 63 is 126. Yeah, something like that, right? And so each key is going to get scoochied over a little bit, and each key, we're always going to scooch you over 1 here, and we're going to go through and we're going to create all the keys that play all of these, right? Okay, now let's talk about this key equals new key. It's kind of, this is weird. Key equals new key. So there's a lot of keys going on, okay? So let's figure out what's happening. So when we say key, what's happening is we're making a box in the RAM. So we're making a local variable, right? So this is a local variable. It's been created inside of this, these brackets, right? So basically it belongs inside this bracket here, as part of this method. And as soon as we get kicked out of here, it disappears. But that's okay, because we only need it inside of here. So we're creating a local variable called key, and the only thing that can go into it is a key object, right? So we're going to say we have our box name key. The only thing that can go into it is a key, and now we're going to make a brand new key. So boom. So this is not totally different. We've done this before, but we're putting an object inside of our box, okay? So our box is holding a key, and this particular key is, when on the first iteration through, it's going to play A with the A key and 3C.wav. Okay, so that particular key goes in the box, and then when we say add object key to the world, so we're adding this key to the world, so we have our box, and we're like, okay, we're dumping that box into the world at this location, right? And so now that key, not only does that key exist in the box, now it's actually in the world, okay? And then though, but then when we run it the next time, we say key, so it disappears basically. So this box goes right, And then we make a brand new box. Oh, I want to make a new box called key. This one disappears. We have a new box called key. And then we're going to put in the S and the 3D.wave. And then that box gets dumped into the world at the new location. And then we're going to delete that box. We're going to make a brand new box. Then we're going to put the D and 3E.wav, if that makes any sense, right? So the idea is that we have a local variable that's holding a key object, and then we dump that key object into the world, okay? Now, did I show you this? I mean, I talked about it. So jumping back up to this, so this is a local variable. This is a local variable. This is more simple. It's not holding an object. It's holding a simple integer, right? The first time through, it's holding a 0, then a 1, then a 2. Again, it's local, so it belongs to this method. And as soon as we get done with make keys, it clears it out of the RAM, and it's not clogging up the RAM anymore, and that's fine because we don't need it, okay? All right, hopefully that was helpful. All right, write this down in your notes. When you create a local variable inside a function, it only exists inside that function. So when you have int I equals 0, it only exists within that method or within that function, and then it disappears. And you cannot use it outside of there. So if you try to use I somewhere outside, so I is going to work great inside of here. If you tried to use it here, it wouldn't work. If you try to use it somewhere down below, it wouldn't work. It only works inside that function. Also, local variables are declared inside the function and have no visibility modifier, private or public. So it doesn't say private int I or public int I. Wouldn't make sense to say public or private because they can only they just work with this guy. We already know who they belong to. Okay. By the way, if you forget that I equals I plus 1 or the I plus plus, that is a very common error and your loop will not work. All right. What are we doing here? Oh, okay. So check this out. So we have this in the constructor of the piano, right? And we're saying, hey, I want to make a new key. Well, whenever you say new key, it opens up the Java factory and he's saying, oh, I want to make a new key. And so where does he look to figure out how to make the new key? He looks at the key class. That's the blueprint for making the key. So you got to get the blueprint here to put in the Java factory, right? And then when you start with the blueprint for the key, one of the first things that happens is you look at the constructor, right? And so we have, string key name, string sound file. And so from the piano, we're sending, there should be a picture of the key in here. We're sending that key object, we're dumping into the world. And when we're building the key, we're saying, hey, the key name is A. The sound file is 3c.wav. So we're sticking it, it's coming from the piano. We're stashing A in key name, 3c.wave in sound file, and then they get transitioned into sound and key because these are local variables. They only work in this method, and we need something more permanent. So in this case, we're stashing them into instance variables, sound and key, which are more permanent. Okay, but the idea here is that all this code up here in the piano world is working together with this code in the key because you're building the key inside the piano world, so it all works together. And we already saw that. Okay, so and then here's what happens in the actual world. First of all, we make the key, we dump it in the world, we scooch it over 64. The key itself is 63 pixels wide. And so we have this particular key is built with holding an instance variable A and 3c.wave. And then this object over here has an instance variable. It's holding an S and a 3D.wave. So with the same key class, we made this key that plays with A and plays 3c.wave, and this one plays with S and 3D.wave. And so the same code creates two different objects that have some different characteristics. Okay, answer this question. What is white keys.length equal to? What is I equal? Silly. During the second iteration through the loop, what is white keys.length equal to? All right, so if we go through our loop, the first time through, I is equal to 0. The second time through our loop, I is equal to 1. Okay, so what is white keys.length equal to? our second iteration or time through the loop. Answer all these questions based on your code or my code. Why do we say uppercase key equals new key? What's that doing? What is I plus plus equal to? The second iteration through the loop. Why are the coordinates of this key? Why are we using 54? Why are we using I times 63? Why are we using 140? What do each of these items do? That's what the question is. The second iteration through the loop. What are the coordinates of this key? Oh no, we actually need the number. So if you take 54 plus I, so what is I the second time through the loop? That's easy. I'm not going to tell you. But at any rate, what are the coordinates? Where are we placing this particular key, the second key? What is I times 63 equal to? The second iteration through the loop. Answer all those questions. And then now we're going to go to part 8, the black keys. Thank you, guys.